video, I don't know why I did that, we're gonna be talking about my Sicilian road trip. So we've been in Sicily at this point, at the start of the road trip, for about 10 days so far, and we planned out a road trip so we could see more than just the one place we're staying. We're staying in a town called Balastrada, which is very nice, close to the beach, which is like the main thing we like to do here. We're out in the country staying at this really nice house, but we want to see a bit more of Sicily than we have before, and not just stay in one place for 5 weeks. So we had planned a 7-day trip, but then the first rental canceled, so we were like, okay, we'll just drive to the next one. And then the last 2 rentals canceled. So the whole trip at this point is kind of like, okay, what are we actually going to be doing? So first day, we wake up, we leave around 10 o'clock, and we get to Bar Vitale. So Bar Vitale is where, in The Godfather, there is the one scene where they're drinking coffee. And my dad, he's the main person planning this road trip, but he's like, Mallory, you want to go to this place? If we don't want to go, we don't have to go. I'm like, I know that tone. That's the tone I use when I want you to do something, but I don't want to make you do it. So I'm like, we're going to this bar. And a bar is like a cafe. So they have cappuccinos, they have pie, cake. We get a pistachio cake and we get cappuccinos. And so it takes us 3.5 hours to get there. There's the dog. That's Dusky. He likes barking at things. So it takes 3.5 hours to get there. We park where it's like, we have to go through all these windy roads. We finally get there, we park, we walk to Bar Vitale. My dad's like in heaven, he's been watching The Godfather like once a week going up to this trip. So we get there and we're like walking around, we sit down at like in the exact same place where they sat down in the movie. We get a cappuccino, the sugar packets say, take the gun, leave the cannoli. We should have gotten cannolis. I realize our mistake now. We got pistachio cake, which was amazing, and cappuccinos, and they had little hearts on them. And then there was like this little cat. So then after Bar Vitale, we got in the car and then we drove. And then we headed towards our rental for that night. So down windy roads, a lot of traffic, and we get to our destination, and the address for our rental isn't actually where we go. So we get to the address and the person's like, we wait outside, the gate's shut, and like my dad honks a couple times, and we're waiting and waiting, and this guy comes out and he's like, this happens all the time. The place you want to go is actually down the road to the left, up like a kilometer, and then to the right. And we're like, it's getting dark, we can barely like read the sign. So we're like, okay, thank you. So we get up there, we find it, like it's the sign is this big for the rental. We get up there, we get in the rental, and like everything's, we get there, but then there's no one there. It's a building of different apartments, and there's keys in the doors, and I'm like, could we just go in one? And my dad's like, that's breaking and entering, and I'm like, okay, maybe, but I'm tired. But then the post lady, she comes barreling down the street because this apartment is in like in the middle of a farm, and she's like, she's speaking in Italian, and my dad goes, Italian no bene, which like his Italian isn't very good. Mine's non-existent. But she lets him use her phone, and he calls the person, and they tell us like we're room 5. Back to the apartment, we eat our food, and then we go to bed. And the next morning, I wake up because I still have not adjusted to the time change from Hawaii, Pittsburgh to Sicily. And I'm like, oh, we should go watch the sunset, because I think we're on the right side. The sun sets in the east, rises in the east, sets in the west. We'll be able to see it. And we really don't see it. We just kind of see the sun peeking out through the sky. So we were at the beach. I was looking for sea glass from my mom, didn't find any. Then we head back to the apartment, we grab our things, and then we head out. The plan for that day was to go to Mount Etna. Mount Etna is the volcano that created Sicily, and it's still an active volcano, which we found out when we were there. We were driving up the hill, because again, more driving, more windy roads. We're driving up the hill, and what happens? My dad sees a volcano. It didn't erupt, but it let go a dust cloud that scared the heck out of me. But we decided to take the cable cars up to the next place, which is about 8,000 feet above sea level. And it's pretty awesome. It's like snowy, but it's not cold. I thought it would be a lot colder than it was. But we get up there, but anyway, we go up there, we look at the cable car, we're on the cable car, and it's nice, we're looking at the snow, and head back down, and then we go for lunch. And where do we go to lunch? We're in Italy. Where else should we go to lunch? We go to IKEA, because that's us. We get a cappuccino, we get the Swedish meatballs. I got some pomegranate soda. And then we were in Catania that night. We finally get to our apartment. It's at the very top floor, and we have like this beautiful terrace. And half an hour from Syracuse, and when we got there, there's one guy and he's like, "You're here for the park?" Like, no one ever comes to that park. He had to go and unlock the gate so we could get in, even though it had already been like open since 8:30. And the guy, he told us like in his broken English and my dad's broken Italian to like lock the gate when we were done, and then just so we can go. So there's my dad locking the gate. And then we still had, when we were done, we still had about half an hour before we could check in. So we just sat by the water in Syracuse and we just looked at that for a bit. We started watching A Star Is Born in the car, and that was fun. I haven't seen that movie before. We only got about 15 minutes in before we went and checked in. So we check into the apartment, we put our bags down, and then we're like, we should get something to eat. And we stop at this place, I'm like, oh, they have paninis. And my dad's like, okay. So we stop, and I get this one sandwich, and I have to say, it was amazing. Like, I don't think I've ever had a sandwich that good. It was ham, Parmesan cheese, apples, and honey. Like, I never thought putting all those things together on like a sesame seed, like roasted bread roll would be so good, but it next morning we wake up in Syracuse. This is our last day of the road trip, and we go to that same place where we got the sandwiches, and we got cappuccinos and cornets, so like croissants. My dad's has vanilla cream, and mine is just covered in powdered sugar. And then I get a cappuccino, and the guy's like, do you want some cocoa? And I'm like, there's only one answer to that question, and it's always yes. So I got some cocoa on my cappuccino, and then we headed back here to our main rental. And that's kind of the end of that road trip. Yeah. Okay. Peace out, dudes.